I'm Pratham. Today we are here to learn the concept of closure in JavaScript. I think if you are a JavaScript developer, you must have used the concept of closure in your daily life or in your daily coding, but maybe you don't know where it is being used. So let's understand this concept. Before understanding this concept, we should know about the concept of scope. So first discuss it and then go through the concept of closure. So what is scope? Scope is just a boundary where you can freely access the declared variable. Like let's go through some example. So here a function with the name of example and having a variable examp and just printing it on the console. So here you can see examp variable has a scope of from line 3 to line 6. If I try to access it here like this, I can't access it. You can check it in the console that it is printing examp is not defined. So here the scope of this examp is around this function only. Now if I declared a variable here examp 0 and now I can access it because the scope of this examp is a script scope. I can only access this examp variable inside this script only. So you can now see it here. If I refresh it, the script scope 0. Yeah. If I declare the variable with the var keyword a, then it becomes a global scope so that I can also access this variable a from some other script. So if I just print it out, and we can check it by using debugger tool, and if I refresh the page, you can see here the examp variable has script scope and the a variable has global scope, and it is very risky and creates unnecessary bugs in your code. So please avoid it using var keyword and declaring variable in a global space. So we have understand the concept of scope. Let's now understand the nested function scope. So if I declared one more function here with the name nested function and just printing the examp variable here and just call it at the time of declaration. So you can see, let me wrap it in the parenthesis so I can call this so you can see that it is printing 0. So you can understand here that the nested function can access the outer scope variable also. Now we are ready to understand the concept of closure. So just start with it. So basically, what is closure? Literal meaning of closure is just state of being closed. In JavaScript, we can understand it is like that the capturing of outer scope variable inside the inner function. No matter this inner function is being called, we have access of this variable. Only the access of this variable, only we capture the variable, not the value. So value may be changed in future, so it reflects back to this captured variable. So let's check this amazing functionality of JavaScript that we can call it anywhere outside the scope of this variable. it captures the all the variable which is defined in the lexical environment of this nested function, that is exam variable. So I can now call it here also. Let's call it here, and you can check it is printing 0 here. So this is amazing that the examp has only a scope inside this function, but we can access this outside, even outside the function, using the concept of closure. That is so amazing, and it gives birth to the many other things like event listener, callbacks, where we capture the variable which is present in the lexical environment of that event listener declaration and use it inside the handlers. So let's check this also. I have a button, increment button, so let's make a counter and just an increment button and add an event listener to it, a click event, and just on click it will increase the counter and print it. And let's just check it here that on incrementing it is printed. So it is just amazing that it is uses the concept of closure and captured the outer scope variable inside this handler, and this handler is not calling here, but when the event click event emits, this function calls and use this counter variable. And now just check the second use case, that is callback. We have a callback here and the same thing, let counter 0, and it is just printing this after 1 second. So let's just check this. So that it is printing 0 here. So now let's understand some tricky example of the closure, that is inside the for loop. Let's declare a variable which holds the incrementer of the for loop, and the loop just goes from 0 to 4, has 5 iteration, and just calling a set timeout which is just printing the variable I after 1 second. So as the normal expectation, it should print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it will not, because as I said, closure just capture the variable, not the value. So at the time of the call, what this variable has a value, that value has assigned to this I. So let's just check this. So it is printing 5 times. So because this for loop just takes less than 1 millisecond, depends on the CPU and processor, and this set timeout is being called after the 1 second. At that time the I goes from 0 to 5, and it is printing the end value, that is 5 times. Now if I change the scope of this variable, just here, now you can see that it is working as expected, and it is printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's check this. Yeah, so why it is here? Because we have changed the scope of this I variable, that is a block scope, and each block has a separate I variable and a separate value which is never got changed by this pointer. When the first iteration runs, this I has a value of 0, and this set timeout captures the variable I, and after the block this variable get destroyed, and for the new block new I variable is declared and assigned the next value, and again this set timeout captured that variable. So each time it captures the new I variable and has a different value, so it is printing, and that different value is never got changed by this incrementer, so it is printing 0 1 2 3 4 after 1 second. If you like the content, please share the video and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned with me for new updates. Thank you.